Hey everyone, this is Michael again, and welcome to the Smackdown review, an out-of-date Smackdown review. This is going to be a review of last night's edition of Smackdown, of course, which was the January 8th edition. And Smackdown last night, I watched it earlier today. It was a decent show. It wasn't bad, in my opinion. It was better than Raw. It was better than Legends Night on Monday Night Raw. There was a lot of decent wrestling in the matches last night. We had a Gauntlet match to determine who will face Roman Reigns for the Universal Championship at the Royal Rumble, which that end, I'm like, really? But then as I thought of it, I'm like, you know what? Something's going to happen, which I already predict it is. So I'll get to explaining that as I get to the Gauntlet match. Last night, we crowned new SmackDown Tag Team Champions. And, of course, we had the Open Challenge Intercontinental Championship match between Apollo Crews and Big E. But overall, SmackDown wasn't a bad show. It was a decent show, in my opinion. So let's jump right into the SmackDown review. So SmackDown opened up last night from the Thunderdome at Tropicana Field. And it opened up, of course, with Roman Reigns, the Tribal Chief, the Universal Champion, who is the top guy on the show. So Roman came out, Jay, Paul Heyman. Reigns ended up taking his time to get into the ring. We had Michael Cole and Corey Graves end up on commentary. They hyped up the Gauntlet match to determine who will face Roman for the Universal Championship at the Royal Rumble. And those opponents in the Gauntlet match were Sami Zayn, Daniel Bryan, Ray Mysterio, Corbin, and Shinsuke Nakamura. So those were the guys who were in this Gauntlet match, and one other was included, which I will get to. So we had Paul Heyman ended up handing a mic to Roman. Reigns ended up saying that there's been a lot of talk about what he did to Kevin Owens last week. Him and Jey Uso. Remember last week was Jey Uso versus Kevin Owens. And at the end of SmackDown last week, we had Jey and Roman end up taking out Kevin Owens, hitting him with chair shots. Reigns end up tossing Kevin Owens off of the Thunderdome LED board, and Kevin Owens went through the table. So Reigns ended up saying that Kevin Owens is a pain in his ass and that he likes him. He likes Kevin Owens. He ended up saying that he respects someone as ambitious as him, one who keeps getting up no matter how often he gets knocked down. He ended up saying that Kevin Owens is like a cockroach. So Reigns ended up saying that he never wanted anything bad to happen to Owens. Reigns ended up going on and he ended up saying that he cares about everyone in the back. He cares about their families. And he ended up saying this is why he does what he does. He said that he's putting food on everyone's tables. And of course he ended up mentioning Kevin Owens again and ended up saying that Kevin Owens doesn't have that opportunity and that he can't come to work anymore. Reigns went on to say that people are trying to blame him, and that's not his fault. Reigns ended up saying that if you want to blame someone, you all got to point the finger of Adam Pearce, who is the WWE official. Well, he is technically the GM, but WWE wouldn't say that. He's technically the GM of Raw and SmackDown, but WWE doesn't want to acknowledge, general manager Zayn anymore. So they just call him an official, but he is technically, Adam Pearce is technically the GM of both shows. But like I said, they won't say that. So Reigns ended up telling Adam Pearce to bring his ass out here. And Paul Heyman was shown yelling at Greg Hamilton. He was yelling at Hamilton to get Pearce out there into the ring. He was like, "Oh, call Pearce out there." And he was like, "Oh, you're wasting TV time." And he was telling Corey Graves or Michael Cole for someone in the back to listen to call out Adam Pearce. So Adam Pearce ended up coming down the ramp. He came into the ring. Adam Pearce ended up asking Roman, what can he do for him? Roman then ended up telling Adam Pearce to watch this clip that they had done. And it was, of course, a video package showing highlights from 2 weeks ago where Roman and Kevin Owens went at it in the steel cage where the Universal Championship was on the line. Jey Uso ended up handcuffing Kevin Owens to the cage, and Roman ended up climbing out of the cage, win the match, retaining the Universal Championship. So we saw highlights from that. And we also saw the highlights from last week where Kevin Owens ended up talking Adam Pearce to having a match with Jey Uso last week, and how Kevin Owens ended up defeating Jey Uso. Of course, we saw the attack post-match from Jey Uso and Roman. Saw Roman end up tossing Kevin Owens off of the LED board, the Thunderdome LED board. And then Kevin Owens ended up going through the table. So then, after that video package was over, we had Jey Uso staring down Adam Pearce. Adam Pearce ended up asking Roman what he wants him to say. Reigns ended up telling Pearce to be a man. So Roman ended up going on about how his feud with Kevin Owens is done and he wants to move on. But he ended up saying that Kevin Owens went to his friend for another match, his friend being Adam Pearce. So Reigns ended up accusing Adam Pearce of not making the right decision for the well-being of his friend. So Reigns ended up saying that he's not happy about Adam Pearce booking the Gauntlet match to determine who his Royal Rumble opponent will be, who Roman's Royal Rumble opponent would be. So Pearce ended up saying he's just trying to put the best challengers in front of Roman. So Roman was playing these mind games with Adam Pearce. Pearce ended up asking Paul Heyman what they're doing out here. So Reigns ended up accusing Adam Pearce of thinking he's stupid, and of Adam Pearce insulting him and disrespecting him and disrespecting the family, his family. Reigns ended up saying that there are consequences to that. So Reigns then ended up grabbing Pearce by the collar, and Pearce ended up asking Reigns to stop. And he ended up saying he does respect Roman. Paul Heyman ended up talking Roman down to stop grabbing Pearce by his collar, and Paul Heyman ended up getting Roman to back him off of Pearce. Reigns was shown nodding. He ended up saying that was his mistake. He ended up saying maybe no one in this room is stupid, and maybe right now, you're perfectly safe. So Pearce was shown looking confused. Roman ended up handing the mic back to Paul Heyman. He ended up patting Adam Pearce on the arm, and then he walked out of the ring. Paul Heyman, and I found this funny. I got a chuckle out of this. Paul Heyman was shown freaking out. like he had a freaked out look on his face. He ended up giving the mic to Adam Pearce. He was like, I thought that was funny. I laughed at that. And that was how the segment ended. But I thought this was a very good segment. You could tell that Paul Heyman had some influence in this segment. His influences in this segment, you could tell, progressed. So there we go. We had the Gauntlet match later on in the night. Of course, booked by Adam Pearce, made official by Adam Pearce. Overall, it was a good segment to open SmackDown. Of course, it's Roman. He's the top guy on the show. So then we had Apollo Crews versus Big E for the Intercontinental Championship. Last week, Big E ended up putting out that he was issuing an open challenge for anybody to challenge him for the Intercontinental Championship. So Apollo Crews was there, and he offered the challenge. He offered to step up to the plate and take on Big E for the Intercontinental Championship. So the match was made official. But this match, it was a decent match. We got some good wrestling here from Apollo Crews and Big E. As the match got underway, Apollo Crews ended up dropping Big E with a drop kick. Apollo Crews went with another drop kick to Big E, went for a pin attempt. Big E ended up kicking out. Apollo Crews went to the top, and Big E ended up dodging the splash from Apollo Crews. And there was a point later on in the match where we had Apollo Crews end up nailing the suplex, and it looks like he was going for another suplex, and it looked like Big E was trying to turn and reverse the suplex into a pin attempt. So the referee ended up making the 3 count. Apollo Crews ended up celebrating, thinking that he won the Intercontinental Championship. The referee looked confused. Big E was confused also. So SmackDown went to commercial. Then when SmackDown came back, we saw a replay of the suplex from Apollo Crews, and we saw that both Apollo Crews and Big E had their shoulders down. So the referee ended up ruling that a double pin. So it was a draw. So Apollo Crews ended up arguing. Big E ended up saying that he doesn't make the rules. So they were arguing, Apollo Crews and Big E. Apollo Crews ended up smacking Big E in the face, and that got Big E pissed off. So Apollo Crews ended up demanding Big E to give him the title. So Big E was ready to go again. The referee ended up calling for the bell, and the match restarted. And so because of Apollo Crews ended up smacking Big E, that set Big E off, and he nailed belly-to-belly suplexes, 2 belly-to-belly suplexes on Apollo Crews. And then he ended up hitting the third one. So Big E ended up hitting the splash in the middle of the ring to Apollo Crews. He ran the ropes and then delivered the splash. Big E ended up going for the big ending, and Apollo Crews ended up retreating and went out to the apron. Big E ended up running for the spear to the floor, but Apollo Crews ended up getting his knee up. So at the end of the match, you had Big E delivering the big ending to Apollo Crews. So there you go. Big E ended up winning the match, retaining the Intercontinental Championship. Post-match, you had Big E ended up standing tall. He ended up yelling some words at Apollo Crews and started taunting Apollo Crews. And that was that. But overall, it was a decent match. Had some decent wrestling, like I said, from Apollo Crews and Big E here. And then we saw Adam Pearce. Adam Pearce was on the phone. He was talking with someone backstage. And he ended up saying that he feels like he's damned if he does, and damned if he don't. So Sonya Deville ended up walking in. Adam Pearce ended up welcoming Sonya Deville and says he understands they will be working together. Sonya Deville ended up telling Adam Pearce that that last year has been crazy, and she's not proud of what she's said or done. She ended up telling Adam Pearce that it's a new year, and she wants to put the past behind her. Deville ended up saying that she's not bitter about her former best friend, Mandy Rose, beating her in the SummerSlam match, going off to Monday Night Raw and leaving her career in shambles and tagging, of course, with another person, that is Dana Brooke. But of course, it's all storyline. Sonya Deville and Mandy Rose, they're still friends. They're still doing the Demandees thing on their social media. So Deville ended up going on, and she ended up saying that she's grateful for the new opportunity and that she wants to help Adam Pearce. So Pearce ended up welcoming Sonya back. So I guess Adam Pearce and Sonya Deville are going to be working together right here. So, and then SmackDown with the commercial. Then when SmackDown came back, we saw Elise Ashton backstage. She was interviewing Bianca Belair. Bianca ended up announcing herself for the 30-woman Royal Rumble match. So before Bianca could speak, she got interrupted by Bayley. Bayley also declared her spot for the Women's Royal Rumble. She ended up saying that she will win and then go on to win the championship at WrestleMania 37. So pretty much that was basically that. Bayley and Bianca were having words back and forth, and then Bianca ended up walking off, and that was that. So then it was Robert Roode and Dolph Ziggler versus the Street Profits. The SmackDown Tag Team Championships were on the line. And this was a good match here. We had Dolph and Angelo Dawkins start off the match. And they both went back and forth. Dawkins ended up nailing a drop kick to Dolph and went for the cover. Dolph ended up kicking out too. Dawkins ended up tagging in Montez Ford while Dawkins was working on Dolph's arm. And Dawkins and Ford ended up doing a double shoulder tackle to Dolph. And Dawkins then ended up flipping Montez Ford onto Dolph Ziggler for another 2 count. Dolph ended up taking Ford into the corner. Roode came in, and both Dolph and Roode ended up taking out Montez Ford, and they were stomping away at Montez Ford as the referee was counting to 5. So Roode ended up taking Montez Ford into the corner, but Ford ended up blocking a right hand from Roode. He ended up fighting out of the corner. Ford then unloaded with some kicks and also punches to Roode. Roode came back and delivered a kick to Ford's knee, which was hurt. If you remember last week, what Roode and Dolph did to the Street Profits. And at the end of the match, you had Dolph Ziggler and Robert Roode winning the match, where both Dolph and Roode end up delivering the spine buster into a zigzag. It was a combo on Montez Ford. So because of that, Dolph and Roode end up winning the match, and they are the new SmackDown Tag Team Champions. So post-match, Dawkins end up coming in to check on Montez Ford, and we had Roode and Ziggler end up attacking the Street Profits. They end up knocking them out of the ring. And Dolph and Roode end up going back to celebrating with them being the new SmackDown Tag Team Champions. And that was that. But overall, this was a good match. And the only reason why they put the titles on Dolph and Roode is because, of course, there's no other tag teams who could face Dolph and Roode. There's no tag teams on SmackDown. So You know the whole tag team division thing. The tag team division on both shows suck. There's no other tag teams. So then we had Adam Pearce and Sonya Deville backstage, and they were talking strategy, and Paul Heyman ended up walking in. Adam Pearce ended up telling Paul Heyman, if this is about the Gauntlet match, then save it. Heyman ended up saying that he likes Adam Pearce and wants no hostility. Paul Heyman ended up going on about knowing Adam Pearce's past and how things could have been if he managed Scrap Daddy Adam Pearce back then. Paul Heyman ended up saying that he knows Pearce's accomplishments and why he was picked for this job. And he also knows this wasn't how Pearce saw his career going. Pearce ended up wanting to be the champion. And Paul Heyman ended up saying that Roman Reigns had him pull some strings. So Paul Heyman ended up telling Adam Pearce that he is now in the Gauntlet match. So Paul Heyman ended up saying that Pearce now has a chance to pursue the dream he's had since he was a little boy. And it's courtesy of his Universal Champion, Roman Reigns. Paul Heyman ended up saying that he's so happy and proud for Adam Pearce. So Heyman ended up grabbing Pearce's hand, and he ended up shaking it. He ended up saying that it's been a pleasure doing business with him. So that was pretty much basically that. But Sonya Deville also ended up mentioning how, she wanted to help Adam Pearce in the match, but he ended up dismissing the idea, and he ended up telling Sonya that he hasn't wrestled. He hasn't got in the ring in 6 years. So, but that was basically that, though. So Adam Pearce was officially in the Gauntlet match. So then we saw the Riot Squad backstage, Liv Morgan and Ruby Riott. And as I'm doing this video today, it's Saturday. Today is, of course, Ruby Riott's birthday. So happy birthday to Ruby Riott. She's turning 30 today. She was born the same year as me, 91. So happy 30th birthday to Ruby Riott. So Billie Kay ended up coming up to them. So Billie Kay ended up wanting Liv Morgan and Ruby Riott to add her to the group so they could become the Riott Trio. So Liv Morgan and Ruby Riott were not interested. So Billie Kay starts crying. This was terrible. This was laughably terrible. So Billie Kay ended up taking that as Liv Morgan and Ruby Riott wanted her in the group. Billie Kay ended up saying that she can be punk like them. She wanted to mention about Blink-182, the group. And she has even added the mosh pit to her resume. Of course, the resume is on the back of a picture of her, of Billie Kay. So Billie Kay was happy as she ended up walking away. Ruby Riott and Liv Morgan were annoyed, and they were to look into how to fix the situation, though. But this was terrible. Clearly, it shows that WWE does not know what to do with Billie Kay after them breaking her away from Peyton Royce. After they broke the Iconics, they don't know what to do with Billie Kay. Except for for Billie Kay going around with her resume with her picture on the front. So that's all they got for Billie Kay to do? Terrible. So then we went to the Gauntlet match. This was the main event. So we had Ray Mysterio, Sami Zayn, Corbin, Daniel Bryan, Shinsuke Nakamura, and Adam Pearce. So first, it was Ray Mysterio versus Sami Zayn. Before the match got underway, Sami Zayn came out. He wasn't, dressed in ring gear. Looked like he wasn't ready to compete. So he was on the mic, and he started ranting about a conspiracy against him. He had a film crew there with him, and he ended up saying that this film crew is here to document and uncover the conspiracy against him, which led to him losing the Intercontinental Championship. Sami Zayn went on to say that when this documentary comes out, it will prove he's the rightful Intercontinental Champion. So Sami Zayn then ended up entering the ring, and he went on about how he's going to beat Ray Mysterio, and then he's going to beat everyone who comes down to the ring. And he went on to say that he is undeniable. So Sami Zayn was still ran to this film crew that was out there as the match started. Sami Zayn ended up turning around. Ray Mysterio ended up delivering a drop kick to him. Ray Mysterio ended up knocking Sami Zayn into the ropes and then hit the 619. Ray went to the top and he ended up hitting the frog splash. And bye-bye, Sami Zayn. Ray Mysterio won and eliminated Sami Zayn. So next out came Shinsuke Nakamura. So it was Nakamura versus Ray Mysterio, which, this was pretty good here from the both of them. They locked up as the match got underway. As the bell rang, Nakamura delivered a headlock to Ray Mysterio before he ran the ropes. He ended up dropping Ray Mysterio with a shoulder. Ray then countered a move from Nakamura, and Ray ended up rolling through, hit a kick to Nakamura's face, went for a pin attempt. Nakamura ended up kicking out of it. It was a quick pin attempt. Oh, and of course, Dominic was out there at ringside. Then it was back and forth between Mysterio and Nakamura. Mysterio ended up sending Nakamura out to the floor with a Hurricanrana. Ray then did a baseball slide. Nakamura ended up catching Mysterio and drive the knee to Mysterio's chin on the apron. And then Nakamura ended up eliminating Ray Mysterio, and he eliminated him with the armbar. And Ray ended up tapping out, so Ray Mysterio was eliminated. And then it was Nakamura versus Corbin. Corbin ended up running down. He ended up attacking Dominic from behind. He laid out Dominic at ringside. Corbin then ended up getting into the ring. He had started unloading on Mysterio. Corbin ended up delivering a chokeslam to Mysterio, and he stood over him. He was talking some trash to Mysterio as SmackDown went to commercial. Then as SmackDown came back from the commercial, Corbin and Nakamura were going at it. They were trading shots in the middle of the ring. Corbin then delivered a big clothesline to Nakamura for a 2 count. Corbin then delivered some strikes in the corner to Nakamura. Corbin then took Nakamura into another corner, started unloading more strikes on him. And at the end of the match, we had Nakamura eliminating Corbin with the Kinshasa. So there you go. Corbin ended up getting eliminated. And then Daniel Bryan came out. So it was Daniel Bryan versus Nakamura here in this Gauntlet match. We saw Daniel Bryan end up nailing a drop kick to Nakamura as the bell rang. Daniel Bryan ended up sending Nakamura out to the floor, nailing a suicide dive, sent Nakamura into the announce table. So Bryan was going to the top. Nakamura ended up kicking him in the gut. And Bryan ended up delivering a reverse exploder suplex to Nakamura. Nakamura then tried to go for the Kinshasa, but Daniel Bryan ended up countering the Kinshasa into a half crab. And at the end, we had Nakamura end up eliminating Daniel Bryan, where we had Nakamura end up hitting the Kinshasa to eliminate Daniel Bryan. So Nakamura was still in this. So then we had Paul Heyman, Roman Reigns, and Jey Uso. They made their way out. And I forgot to mention before that, Daniel Bryan ended up standing up, and he ended up helping Nakamura up. Daniel Bryan ended up offering his hand to Nakamura. They ended up shaking hands. And then out came Roman, Paul Heyman, and Jey Uso. Nakamura ended up staring Reigns down. We had Michael Cole and Corey Graves end up reminding us that there was one man still left, and that, of course, was Adam Pearce. So Nakamura was still in the ring. This was when SmackDown came back from commercial. Paul Heyman ended up motioning to the back, and out came Adam Pearce. Pearce ended up looking like he didn't want to take part in this gauntlet match. He ended up walking past Roman and them. So Reigns, Jey Uso, and Paul Heyman end up following Adam Pearce down. So Pearce ended up looking like he didn't know what to do. Jey Uso ended up getting into the ring. He ended up getting in Nakamura's face. Jey Uso then delivered a cheap shot to Nakamura in his face. Jey Uso ended up beating Nakamura down as Reigns ended up joining him. They were both being down on Nakamura. So I'm like, because this, Nakamura might be a babyface now, and he might want some revenge against Roman and Jey Uso after this. That's what I'm seeing. So Paul Heyman was watching from the other side. So Jey Uso then delivered a super kick to Nakamura. He then told Reigns to finish Nakamura off with the Superman punch. Jey Uso ended up going to the top, delivered the Uso splash. So Nakamura was laid out. Reigns ended up going out, and he ended up telling Adam Pearce that this is his show, and he does what he wants to do. So Roman then ended up rolling Pearce into the ring aggressively. Pearce ended up saying a little bit of words to Roman. Turns around, and Jey Uso then delivered a super kick to Adam Pearce. Pearce ended up going down. Reigns ended up signaling for the timekeeper to ring the bell. So the timekeeper then rang the bell. Both Nakamura and Pearce were laid out. So Jey Uso ended up pulling Adam Pearce on top of Nakamura. The referee ended up counting to 3. And so there you go. Adam Pearce wins the match, wins the gauntlet match, is now the number 1 contender for Roman Reigns' Universal Championship at the Royal Rumble. So here's what I have to say. Normally, I would shit on this, but as I thought of something, Adam Pearce is the number 1 contender for the Universal Championship. I know for sure Adam Pearce is going to give up his position and not face Roman for the Universal Championship. And Kevin Owens is going to come back. You know, Roman, Jey Uso, and Paul Heyman think that they're done with Kevin Owens. That, you know, Kevin Owens and Jey Uso, the match that they had last week, and what happened after the match where Roman ended up tossing Kevin Owens off of the Thunderdome LED board, and he went body first into the table. They thought that they were done with Kevin Owens. I think Kevin Owens is going to return, and he's going to be the number 1 contender to face Roman at the Royal Rumble for the Universal Championship. So that's how it's going to go down. Kevin Owens is going to come back. Roman and crew thinking that, they're done with Kevin Owens, but no. Kevin Owens comes back. He gets another shot at Roman. And there you go. So Kevin Owens is going to come back. He's going to face Roman at the Royal Rumble for the Universal Championship. So that's how I see it going down. There's no way that they're going to make Adam Pearce face Roman. If they would have did that, Adam Pearce would have jobbed out to that match. And Roman would have got a clean, easy win and retained the Universal Championship. So that's what I think they're going to do. But overall, the Gauntlet match, it was decent. But overall, that was SmackDown last night. It was a decent show. Wasn't bad. But anyways, that's it for the SmackDown review. Thank you all for watching. Hope you all enjoyed this review. Definitely give the video a thumbs up, comment, subscribe. And until the next video, which will possibly be Monday Night Raw. So that's coming up, of course, on Monday. So until then, I'll see you all later.